The going around the racks of equipment here real quickly. This top was the authenticator panel for the TIPSY system. If there was a security violation, they'd hear something like this, which was a indication that something had broken one of the TIPSY beams. Typically a four-legged animal, a bird, or as I understand, even perhaps monsoon rain or fog or snow at some of the other sites could trip the TIPSYs, requiring the site to be locked down, security come out, determine the cause of the problem, and then take care of the issue. The next panels down are the BMAT made use of for doing non-destructive diagnostic testing. This top panel over here was the butterfly control valve input panel, which was mentioned in the video. On one of the oxidizer lines, the butterfly control valve had electronic lock put on it during the mid-70s, and in order to unlock the electronic lock so that the valve could open during a launch, the crew had to put in the launch code or the butterfly valve code through these 6 thumb wheel switches. Each switch has 16 positions. So how many possible combinations of which only one would unlock the butterfly control valve? Think of 16,777,216, and only one was a valid combination to unlock the butterfly control valve. In fact, the Air Force was concerned even with that number of codes. There was a tries counter on this. After 6 tries, on the 7th try to enter the correct code in, if there was nervousness during a launch sequence to get it entered in, the butterfly control valve would electronically commit suicide. Besides that, these switches were hardwired to the base so that it could be determined when, if anything had, if any of them have been changed without authorization. The next panel down is the launch sequence in greater detail. This panel showed targeting information. Which target is currently shown as being selected?
Target 2.
What do you know about target 2?
Bad people live there.
That's a good answer. In reality, even then, the crew did not know where target 2 was. That was classified and or top secret information at that time. It is still a classified item, and that was the one exception to the unclassified that I mentioned about that still exists on the site. We have no idea where target 2 was or anything about target 2. The only clue we can get about target 2 is from this panel, which shows the type of burst. The weapon on the Titan II missile was a 9-megaton thermonuclear hydrogen bomb, and it could be set for either an air burst or a ground burst. An air burst would occur at 14,000 feet, and it would destroy an area of about 900 square miles. Think of a circle with a 34-mile diameter. So it would take out a massive amount of area. The other choice was a ground burst, which would occur at the very close to the surface. That would dig a hole about 450 feet deep, half to 3/4 mile in diameter, and think of Meteor Crater up near Winslow as the hole that was capable of digging. That would be used to take out a hardened target, such as a command and control center or a something of that nature, something that was a high value, well-protected target and hardened target that the enemy might have. So that's the one piece of information we know about Target 2 was it was some type of probably a command control or some type of very high value target that of the enemy. The guidance system of the missile was this rack of equipment. Back in the early 60s, all these blank panels actually had equipment in them. By the mid-70s, the spare parts and for the guidance system have became very difficult to obtain. The Air Force went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology and also to Delco Electronics, who were working on a universal space guidance system for the 747 aircraft. They adapted that, replaced everything in this rack with a single panel. Think of today, you have a lot more power in your cell phone or your smart watch than what is included in this panel. Target information for the 3 preloaded targets was provided to the site on punch paper tape. The punch paper tape could not be altered by electronic or magnetic means, and if extra hole got punched in the tape accidentally or there was a missing hole, the punch tape reader would detect it during the load of the tape and abort the load. If the tape was correct and validated, then the signal data recorder would punch out a short tape that was a verification tape for the site. As I said, there was 3 preloaded targets for each missile, and those could be changed, but they'd have to get a new roll of paper tape. The other thing I want to mention is that the original guidance system could not be put without power for even seconds. Power was purchased from the local power company. If power went down, then there was battery backups down below which would supply power for the launch or for some time until the backup generator over in the silo came online. We'll now go through what the sequence was for a simulated launch. The crew would hear a message something like this. The 2 members of the crew would grab the emergency action message notebooks. The Alpha 2 first characters were the indication that it was a launch message from the President of the United States. The 2 members would copy down the 35 symbols that came in the message into the notebooks. They would then exchange the notebooks, listen to the message a second time. Once they had determined that they had both copied down the same symbols, then they would have authorization to open the safe, remove the authentication card, something of this nature, and within the cookie that was another card that actually contained the remaining 5 characters of the authentication code. They'd look for the card that had the first 2 characters there. They verified the authentication code was correct. If it was, then they knew it was an authentication launch order. Another part of the message was the butterfly control valve code. That was not kept on site here. That came down as part of the launch control message. And the last part of the launch message was the launch time, which they would then use another notebook or another information to calculate the launch time that they were to launch at, to be able to make certain that bombers and other missiles were not coming in at the same time that theirs was intended to come in. At launch time, the crew would remove the keys from the safe. The commander would place his crew here. Please place your left hand on the key. That's so that you can see the launch sequence with your, to the right of it. The deputies was over here. I want you to give me a countdown, 3, 2, 1, turn, and then turn the key to the 3 o'clock position. Hold for 5 seconds. We have to turn simultaneously.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, hold for 5 seconds until the green light comes on, at which point you can now release it. You've now started something that you cannot stop. There's no stopping it at this point. The batteries in the missile are now being charged for the first time with electrolytes. Momentarily, the missile will be on its own power when the APS hold light comes on. The silo door will be sliding open. It takes about 18 seconds for the silo door to slide open, break the tipsy beam, giving the indication of the launch of the door open. The guidance system is making one last communication with the missile at this point. The engines will now be firing. The claxons going off indicate that there's fire in the silo, and about 4 seconds later, the missile will rise out of the silo on a 6,300-mile journey. That'll take about 32 minutes to target 2, at which point you do not want to be any place close to target 2, as that will mean that peace through deterrence has failed, and we are now into a situation of mutually assured destruction. I'm running long, so please follow me as we go down to the silo, and we can take a look at the missile down there. Wow.
So basically just incinerated.
You did. Did you take a picture of that?
Yeah.